All right, where to start? Where to start? Where to start? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Steve, and today I'm going to be doing a state of the collection video. Now, I'm doing this video for a few different reasons. First reason is that I haven't done one in over a year. So I really want to compare what I had before when I first started the channel to what I have now. The second reason is I want to actually pare down my watch collection. A lot of us collect watches for different reasons and in different ways. And for me, I think I really want to shift my focus. So before is anything I saw that I wanted to get, I got. Simple as that. And now I really want to pare down the collection to only buy watches that I genuinely want that are more grail watches. So I guess it's kind of hard, so bring it in. I spend too much money on watches, and I'm going to have to sell them off so I can one day buy my Rolex, because I really do love the Rolex Polar Dial Explorer 2, and I don't think I can afford it if I keep buying $600 and $700 watches anytime I see one. So I'm going to have to get rid of a lot of these watches over the coming year, really save up for that Rolex, maybe drop my name into the Rolex AD, just say, hey, maybe, possibly, if you can. Might not get one, probably won't get one for another year, but in that year I can save up more and more, especially after I sell these watches, and that way I can really buy a watch that is, I consider, a grail watch. And the last reason is to fund a project that I can't disclose at this point in time, but I will be able to disclose at a point in time in the future. And maybe if you checked out some of my other videos, you might see a little bit of Easter eggs here or there, but that's besides the point. I will talk about that project at a later point in time. And not to mention that I just want to document my collection journey over the years. So that's what we're going to be going through. And I don't know where to start. So let's go with my most worn watch in my collection. And that is my Casio G-Shock 5610. So it's solar powered. It has that multi-band 6. So you're always getting a signal. You're always getting the correct time. 200 meters of water resistance. I've made videos about this watch, and it's my #1 rated work watch. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead, click the link up there. Moving on to the second and last G-Shock in my collection, the Casio Jellyfish. Now, primarily I do wear this watch in the summertime. It just has that more casual look to it. I haven't worn it enough to justify it being in the collection, so this is definitely one that's on the chopping block, but I do love the way it looks, and I have a mod kit for it that I really need to put on. The next summertime watch I have is the Seiko SNKK52, this gold beauty. I absolutely love wearing it, even though it has folded links and stamp clasp. It's so cool. I mean, go ahead, take a look at this on the wrist. That thing looks amazing. Now, a smaller version of the Tissot PRX has been rumored, and one of the options that they do show is a gold version. So I may have to trade this in and go with that option. Speaking of the PRX, I have the blue dial, the PRX Powermatic 80. This thing has been one of my favorite watches. Is that why I missed this plastic piece right here? While this watch isn't the most refined in my collection, it gets so many compliments, so many looks, so many questions. I love wearing this thing, and I'm not sure if it's going to leave my collection, but maybe if that gold PRX rumor is true, I might trade in both of these just to get the best of both worlds. Next up is my Brew Retromatic. Now, I've done a comparison between the PRX and this Brew, so if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and click up there. But this watch was my first integrated bracelet watch. I was a fan of the retrograph. I just couldn't get a hold of it. So when Brew released this watch, I figured I need to gobble this up immediately. And that I did. So like I said before, this watch does come with that integrated bracelet, a butterfly clasp, and a display case back, and a very cool multi-step dial that I'm loving. It looks very simple, but then you start dissecting it piece by piece, and man, they did a spectacular job with this watch. Next up, we have the Seiko SSC 813. This watch caught my eye right off the bat, and obviously you can see why. It gives off that Daytona vibe. Now, this watch is a perfect example of the saying, greater than the sum of its parts. Yes, it has its issues between the bracelet and the date window, and some other quirks that kind of make you wonder, hey, why didn't they do this instead of that? But overall, this watch just offers that oomph, that it factor. And it's kind of hard to explain, but maybe it just comes down to that panda dial. But even the black version, the black on black version of this watch just looks great. They really did a great job designing it. Execution maybe took a back seat. Now, moving on from one chronograph to another, we have the Bulova Lunar Pilot. Now, I've owned two of these watches. This one is on the bracelet. I've had one that comes on the leather strap. So this one does have its issues with the bracelet as well, but it has female end links, a nice butterfly clasp, a well-executed case back. It has a very high accuracy quartz movement, a well-positioned date window. It's just a little too large for most people. Luckily for me, I have a 7.5-inch wrist, so it fits me quite nicely. But if you don't have a very wide wrist, it's not going to look right. So I can see why most people don't like this in execution as well. Now, moving on to another large watch in my collection. This is my first watch. This is the watch that got me into watch collecting. It is my Citizen Skyhawk AT. So this was my primary watch from about 2008 to about 2019. I never took this watch off the wrist. So as you can see, the watch is on empty and that I haven't worn it for quite some time. But when I tell you I wore this watch every day, this was my everyday watch. I had a chipped crystal on there, scuffs everywhere. I have replaced the crystal since then, but this watch never left my wrist and I will never leave my collection. I absolutely adore this watch. And even though I might not wear it all the time now, it's never going to leave. I really adore this one. Now, another watch that's never going to leave my collection is my Metal Gear Solid 5 watch. Now, this may be a novelty to some, but I absolutely love this thing. I love the design of it. I love the style of it. I'm a big gamer, and I love the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And when I saw Snake wear this watch and I saw that it was available to purchase, I immediately was like, I need to get it in my collection as soon as possible. Originally, this watch was $400, and now it's hovering somewhere in that $1,500, $1,600 range. I just love looking at this thing day in and day out. It's one of my favorite watches in my collection. So this next watch was given to me as a gift, and it is a Boba Fett-inspired Nixon watch. I've done a video on this before. It's a very fun piece. It has a thermometer in it, which is, you don't really see a lot of that. So this is pretty cool. I do enjoy wearing that from time to time. But yeah, it is more of a novelty watch than anything. So since we're on the digital watch kick, let's go ahead and look at the last one in my collection. It is the DW290. Now this watch, I guess, was in Mission Impossible, but to me, it looks like Doom Guy. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I love this watch just because it looks like the Doom Guy helmet. It has a very retro design. The pushers are all very easily accessible. Very unique looking. It's a good alternative to a G-Shock that offers a little bit more character, in my opinion. So another watch that it has sentimental value to me is my Movado Circa chronograph. This is the watch that my in-laws gave me for my wedding. The finishing on the case, the feel of the pushers, the layouts of the subdial, everything is executed very well. I still have to make a video on this watch, but yeah, this is a watch that it will, once again, never leave my collection. So let's move on to a couple of different dress watches. The first of which being is my Orient Bambino Generation 2 on an aftermarket leather strap and aftermarket butterfly clasp. So everyone is always talking about the Bambino and how great Orient is, so I decided to pick one up as well. And I absolutely hated the strap, so I purchased this leather strap that I think goes well with it, and I think it needed that butterfly clasp as well, just to really push up the look of this watch. Now, this watch is executed very well, from the layout of the dial to the Roman numerals. Everything on this watch looks great in images, but then when I put it on my wrist, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit my personality. It doesn't fit how I like my watches. So for that reason, this watch is probably going to leave my collection sometime this year. And the last dress watch I have in my collection is my Kurono Tokyo Toki. This thing is so well made. The case is polished beautifully. The hands are polished beautifully. The indices, the leather bracelet, everything works with this watch. Even down to the packaging, Kurono puts in the most amount of love into their watches. The only issue I have with the watch is that it's not a dive watch. I love dive watches, and if Kurono makes a dive watch, I will be the first one in line to buy it, especially around that 39mm mark. If they can execute this dress watch like this, I want to see what they can do with an actual diver, an actual tool watch. I'll be the first one in line. So yeah, Kurono, if you're listening, please, diver next. And speaking of the tool watches in my collection, we're going to get into those right now. First off being the Seiko SRPH19, that gold dial, that Pepsi bezel. Man, this thing just oozes the 70s. Now this is one of the sharpest Seiko 5s I've seen. I love the colors. I love how fun the watch is. I like it on the wrist. Once again, that bracelet is a lackluster coming from Seiko, but overall, it is a beautiful watch to look at. Next up is my Yema Superman GMT, the black and gray bezel. They have 300 meters of water resistance, that very cool, very functional bezel lock system. I love the layout. I love Yema's handsets, especially that nice big minute hand and that shovel seconds hand. I think it plays very well with the aesthetic, and that's why I bought two of them. And next up is the Superman Bronze GMT. This one has the Yema 3000 GMT movement, and that's what I really bought this watch for, an in-house Yema movement. I think they executed it very well. I love that blue dial. It really pops, and it looks spectacular, both in the sunlight and in indoor lighting. The gilt hands and gilt indices, absolutely love it. And speaking of watches that I absolutely love, I just get goosebumps looking at this thing. It is my Ianos Avisos. The story behind this watch, the story behind the company is very, very cool. And being Greek, it's very inspirational. They have another watch, the Mechanikos, coming out later this year. I'm excited to get that one. But the amount of detail that's in this watch, there's just so much to list. Please, I have done a full review on this. Go ahead and watch it, and you'll know why I absolutely love this brand and love this watch. Now, coming down to my last two watches, I was on the hunt for these two for the longest time. I kept scouring eBay, scouring the internet, and this one I'm so excited to have. This is my Citizen Grand Touring. This is a Panerai homage, especially with those crown guards. Absolute beauty. So this watch has an in-house movement with a custom rotor, display case back. It has that Panerai vibe, like I said before. The bracelet is executed nice, screwed links. This watch is amazing. I can't wait to do a full in-depth review on this watch because it deserves it, and Citizen deserves more praise from the watch community, especially watches like this. I don't know why they, it's only in the Seikos and everything like that, but Citizen really pumps out some great watches, and this is one of them. All right, now it's down to the last watch in my collection, and if you haven't guessed it already, then you haven't been subscribed to my channel long enough, so please hit that subscribe button down below. It is my Omega Seamaster Professional 300. This is my first luxury watch that I've purchased, and man, this thing is a thing of beauty. That dial, best dial on the market. I'm going to say it right now, best dial on the market. The way the dial changes depending on your lighting situation, indirect sunlight versus direct sunlight, with those unique skeletonized hands, those bold indices, the alternate brushing and polishing on the case, that 10 o'clock helium escape valve. It is the perfect combination of luxury and tool watch that can be used in either situation. This is one of my favorites, if not my most favorite watch in my collection. I don't ever see myself getting rid of this watch. And to me, it's a watch perfected. So that's my watch collection. Please leave a comment below which watch was your favorite and which watch you think I should get rid of first. If you haven't done so, hit that like button. And if you want to be in the know, if you want to hear about what I got coming up, what's in the works, hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. I'm going to be dropping some news later on this year. So please keep your ear to the ground and you'll see what I got planned for you. And if you want to see full reviews on these watches, please check out the rest of my videos. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.